A note before we begin. This is not a story of conquest or the clash of iron. The march has ended. The empire is silent. What follows is a slow immersion into the system, the rhythmic, repetitive safety of the Roman camp. There will be no sudden movements, no loud calls to arms, only the steady breath of 8 men in a leather tent and the slow cooling of the earth. If you find your mind wandering, let it. If you find your eyes closing, let them. You are within the walls now. You are in absolute safety. Let the weight of the day fall away, like armor hitting the dirt.
The camp is built. Everything that needed to be done today has been done. The work that consumed the afternoon is complete. The tasks that required hands, backs, attention, all of those are finished now. The tools are put away. The stakes have been driven into the earth. The ditch around the perimeter is complete. Every shovelful of dirt has been moved. Every measurement has been checked. The armor has been removed. The weight is gone from shoulders. The pressure that sat across backs all day, that constant reminder of metal and leather, has lifted. Shoulders feel lighter. Spines feel longer. The absence of weight is its own sensation. Bodies register this absence. Muscles, no longer braced against the armor's pull, begin to settle. Backs straighten slightly. The relief is physical, tangible. Hands are empty now. They are not holding tools. They are not gripping weapons. They are not adjusting straps or checking fastenings. Hands rest at sides or in laps or against thighs. They have nothing to do. The emptiness of hands is restful. There is no object requiring attention, no tool demanding grip, just hands, resting. The fires that were bright an hour ago have been banked down. This is deliberate. This is part of the routine. The flames that leaped and crackled during the evening meal have been covered with ash and earth. The wood has been arranged so that it will burn slowly through the night. The fires now glow low and steady. They give off heat without brightness. They will last until morning without anyone feeding them. This banking of fires happens in every tent row, in every section of the camp. The fires dim together. The light level drops evenly across the entire space. Nothing urgent remains. There is no task waiting. No officer will call names. No work detail will form. The day's labor is complete, and the night's rest has begun. Nothing requires attention. Nothing requires movement. Nothing requires thought. The camp exists now as a finished thing. It is not becoming something. It already is something. It will stay this way until morning. The shape is set. The walls are in place. The gates are secured. The camp is complete. Finished. Done. There is nothing to check, nothing to adjust, nothing to improve. Other men are doing what needs to be done. The watch has been set. The sentries have taken their positions. The gates are closed and guarded. These things are happening, but they do not require involvement from those at rest. Someone else is responsible tonight. The system operates without those who rest. The night watch belongs to others. The role now is simply to rest, inside something complete. The work of building is over. That urgent phase, the race against darkness to get the walls up and the tents pitched, is behind. What remains is maintenance, and maintenance belongs to the watch rotation. It does not belong to those at rest. Not tonight. Rest is possible. Nothing has changed. The vallum runs in a complete square around the camp. Not all of it is visible from any single position, but the shape is known. The walls meet at each corner. The distance from one gate to another is measured. The shape is familiar. Not from this camp specifically, but from the pattern. The pattern that repeats in every place the Legion stops. The ditch was dug first. That is always the order. Before anything else, the ditch. It was measured and marked. Then the digging began. Men with shovels and picks working in shifts. The earth was loosened, lifted, moved. The ditch was dug to a specific depth, not deeper than necessary, not shallower than safe. The depth is standard, tested, known to be effective. Then the earth was piled to make the rampart. The same earth that came out of the ditch was placed directly beside it, on the inner side. This created a wall, not a stone wall, just packed earth. But earth, when piled and stamped down, becomes solid. It becomes a barrier. The rampart rises from the inner edge of the ditch. The two features work together. The ditch creates depth. The rampart creates height. Together they form the primary defensive line. Then the wooden stakes were lashed together and set into the top of the rampart. These stakes are called the palisade. They are sharpened at the top. They are bound together with rope or leather. They are driven into the earth of the rampart so that they stand upright, close together, forming a continuous fence. The palisade is the final layer, the outermost boundary, the visible edge of the camp. This happens every time, in every place. No matter where the Legion stops for the night, no matter if the stop is planned or sudden, no matter if the land seems peaceful or threatening, the repetition is intentional. The sameness is a strength. There is no variation to learn, no adaptation required. The pattern is always the same. Ditch, rampart, palisade, gates. This pattern is older than any individual soldier. It was used before current service began. It will be used after current service ends. The system does not depend on any individual. It depends on itself. The system is larger than any man. It existed before. It will exist after. This is reassuring. Inside something that has been tested. Not tested once, but hundreds of times. Thousands of times. In Gaul, in Germania, in Britannia, in Hispania, in Syria, in Africa. Every terrain, every climate, every type of threat. The system has been tested against all of them. The system works. It has always worked. It will work tonight. The gates are closed now. There are 4 gates, one in each wall. Each gate is heavy. The wood is thick. The hinges are iron. Each gate has guards standing beside it. 2 men, usually, sometimes more. The gates are barriers when closed, controlled passages when open. Right now they are closed. The night has begun. Nothing enters without being seen. The guards do not sleep. They do not sit, stand, and they watch. They know what to look for. They know what questions to ask. The ditch runs along the outside of the rampart. It is wide enough that a man would struggle to cross it quickly. It is deep enough to slow anything that moves at night. If someone tried to approach the camp in darkness, they would have to descend into the ditch, cross the bottom, and climb the far side. This takes time. This makes noise. The ditch creates distance. Distance creates time. Time creates opportunity for response. Between the ditch and the tents, there is open space, This space is called the intervallum. It is left empty on purpose. No tents are pitched there. No equipment is stored there. The view is clear. The emptiness is strategic. Visibility is complete. Nothing can hide in the intervallum. If something came over the wall, it would have to cross that empty ground. Everyone would see it. Everyone would have time to react. But nothing will come over the wall tonight. The camp is secure. Still here. Inside the walls, the camp is laid out in straight lines. There is no randomness here, no tents placed wherever there was space. Everything follows a grid. Everything has a designated position. The order is visible, clear, unmistakable. Two main roads cross in the center. One road runs from gate to gate, east to west. This road is wide enough for wagons. It is called the Via Principalis. The Principia, the commander's headquarters, sits along this road. The Via Principalis is the primary axis, the spine of the camp. Everything else is organized in relation to it. The other road runs north to south. This is the Via Quintana. It is slightly narrower, but still straight, still clear. These two roads divide the camp into sections, quadrants. Each section has its designated purpose. The tents are arranged in rows between these roads. Each row is the same width. Each tent is the same distance from the next tent. The spacing is regular, predictable. The regularity removes confusion. There is no searching, no guessing. Everything is where it should be. If someone walked through this camp in full darkness, location would be known. Sight would not be needed. Packed earth would be felt underfoot. Tent rows could be counted as they passed. The number of rows between the Via Principalis and the outer wall would be known. The direction of the Principia would be clear, even without seeing it. Bodies would know. Feet would recognize the distances. The sense of space would orient automatically. This camp is the same shape as every other camp. The layout does not change from place to place. In Gaul, the camps were laid out this way. The Via Principalis ran east to west. The Via Quintana ran north to south. The tents were in rows. In Germania, the same. In Britannia, the same. In Hispania, the same. This sameness is not monotony. It is reliability. It is the elimination of uncertainty. If someone were moved tomorrow to another legion, the other side of the empire, the camp would be recognized immediately. No guide would be needed. No directions would need to be asked. The location of latrines would be known. They are always in the same position relative to the walls. The location of the hospital tent would be known. The location of the granary would be known. The position of any sentry's tents would be predictable. Knowledge transfers completely, from one camp to every camp. The system ensures no one is ever lost. The system removes confusion. It removes uncertainty. It removes the need to relearn anything. There is nothing new to learn tonight. This place is already known, even though it has never been visited before. Nothing has changed. The fires are low now. The flames have settled into coals. The bright yellow light has faded to a deep red glow. The heat is still there, but the visual intensity is gone. The transition from flame to coal happens gradually, steadily, without sudden change. The voices of other men are quieter than they were an hour ago. The conversations are slower. The laughter has faded. Men speak in low tones now, if they speak at all. The energy of the day is draining away. The volume drops without anyone ordering it. Men simply speak more quietly as night deepens. It is instinct. The animals have been fed. The mules and horses stand in their lines near the intervallum. They are not moving much. They shift their weight from one leg to another. They lower their heads. They breathe steadily, rhythmically. The animals sense the settling too. Their movements slow, their alertness dims. Some men are already in their tents. The soft sounds of them moving inside the leather can be heard. The rustle of wool, the creak of a strap being loosened, the faint thud of a boot being set down. These sounds are muffled, softened by the leather walls, absorbed by distance. The camp is entering silentium. This is not a command. No one has ordered silence. No officer has walked through the rows of tents demanding quiet. It happens naturally as the night deepens. Silentium is a state, a condition, a quality that the camp takes on as the sun disappears. Men lower their voices without thinking about it. It is an instinct, a response to the darkness and the cooling air. The body knows it is time to rest. The voice adjusts accordingly. The adjustment is automatic, unconscious. No decision is made. The voice simply drops. Movements become slower. Tasks that were done quickly an hour ago are now done with deliberate care. Men move with less urgency. They place objects down gently instead of dropping them. Pace changes without anyone noticing the change. Speed is no longer necessary. Slowness becomes natural. The energy of the day fades. It does not vanish suddenly. It simply drains away, gradually, like water seeping into soil. Silentium is not the absence of sound. It is the presence of quiet. Quiet is not the same as silence. Quiet contains sound, but sound that does not intrude. Quiet allows sound, but only certain sounds, only soft sounds, only sounds that fit the night. The sentries walking on the rampart remain audible. Their boots make contact with the packed earth. The rhythm is steady, regular. The sound is distant but continuous. It marks the passing of time. It marks the presence of the watch. The wind moving across the tops of the tents can be heard, a soft, continuous sound, like breath. The wind is gentle tonight, not strong enough to threaten the tents, just present enough to be heard. The distant sound of someone coughing carries through the camp. It is muffled by distance and by the tent walls between. The cough is brief, human. It reminds that others are near, but it does not disturb. But the urgency is gone. The sounds that remain are calm sounds, steady sounds, sounds that repeat without variation. The camp is settling into itself. It is becoming still, not motionless, but still. There is a difference. Stillness allows small movements, allows breath, allows life, but removes urgency, removes demand. Part of that settling, the camp is the same. The ditch lies between the camp and everything outside. It is not a dramatic barrier. It does not tower. It is not made of stone, but it is there. And it is effective. It is a practical thing, built with deliberate care. The ditch is simple. Its simplicity is its strength. There is nothing complex to fail. The ditch was dug with familiar tools, shovels, picks, mattocks. The earth was removed one shovelful at a time. The sides slope at an angle that makes climbing difficult. Not impossible, nothing is impossible, but difficult enough to slow an approach. Ditches like this have been dug before. The angle of the sides is known. How the earth resists at certain depths is known. The work that went into creating this barrier is evident. The earth that came out of the ditch was piled inward. This created the rampart. The rampart is not high, but it does not need to be high. It only needs to be high enough to provide an advantage, high enough to see over, high enough to make an approach visible. The height is sufficient, tested, proven across generations of camps. If someone stood at the edge of the ditch and looked outward, the land beyond would be visible. Fields, perhaps, or forest, or hills, or open plain. The land beyond the ditch is not hostile in itself. It is simply outside. It is the world that continues regardless of whether the camp exists. The world outside is not a concern tonight. It continues without the camp, without affecting the camp. But there is no need to look outward now. The ditch is there. The rampart is there. The palisade is there. Together, these things create a boundary. The boundary is clear. What is outside stays outside. What is inside stays inside. The boundary is more than physical. It is psychological. It defines safety. It defines belonging. The sentries are walking there, circuit of the walls. They move at a steady pace, not fast, not slow, just steady. They know exactly how long it takes to walk from one corner to the next. They have done this walk before. They will do it again tomorrow night. The rhythm of their walk is predictable, reliable, unchanging. They exist so that others do not have to think about what is beyond the walls. Their job is attention. The job of those at rest tonight is rest. The roles are divided clearly. The system ensures that no one has to do both at once. The division is complete, clean. Those at rest are not responsible for their task. They are not competing for rest. Their attention is outward. The attention of those at rest can be inward. Attention to the body, to comfort, to the arrangement of gear, to the feeling of sitting or standing or lying down. No need to watch the perimeter. Attention is freed, released, allowed to rest on simple things, on immediate things. Those at rest are not responsible for the perimeter tonight. Someone else is watching. Someone else is listening. That task belongs to them. It can belong to them. It can be released completely. The release is total. No need to maintain partial awareness. No need to listen for threats. Others are doing that. Held. Nothing has shifted. Between the walls and the tents, there is space. This space is not an accident. It was planned. It is part of the design. The space is wide enough to move through easily, wide enough to see clearly across, wide enough that sound does not carry directly from the outside to the inside. The width is measured, standard, the same in every camp. The intervallum is a buffer. It separates the defensive perimeter from the living area. It creates distance. Distance is safety. Distance is time. If something were to breach the outer wall, this space would provide time to react. The intervallum absorbs threat. It dilutes danger. It creates opportunity for response. If an animal outside the camp calls out, the sound is heard, but it is softened. The distance absorbs some of the sound. By the time the sound reaches the inner rows of tents, it has traveled across the intervallum. It has passed through open air. It has lost some of its sharpness. The sound is there, but it is not immediate. It is not urgent. It is information without alarm. The space also holds practical things. The pack animals are kept near the intervallum. The mules and horses are not inside the living area. They are in the buffer zone, close enough to be accessible, far enough that their sounds and smells do not fill the tents. The placement is deliberate. Animals create noise. They create smell. They require space. The intervallum contains all of this. The equipment that is too large for the tents is stored there. Spare stakes, bundled together and laid flat. Coils of rope, thick and heavy. Water containers, large ceramic or wooden vessels. Carts, sometimes, if the unit has them. These objects create a kind of gentle clutter, not chaos. The equipment is organized, but it is not arranged for beauty. It is arranged for function. The result is a space that contains many objects without feeling crowded. The clutter is orderly, controlled. Everything has a place, even if that place is simply against the wall. If someone walked through the intervallum at night, boots would sometimes kick a stone. The ground there is not as carefully cleared as the ground in the living areas. Small stones remain, sometimes a root, sometimes a patch of uneven earth. Feet would encounter these irregularities, small disruptions in stride. Nothing dangerous, just texture. Sometimes passage would bring someone close to a mule. Breathing would be heard. The sweat of the animal and the hay it has been eating would be smelled. The heat radiating from its body might be felt when passing within arm's reach. The animal's presence would be tangible, close, but not threatening. Just there. Sometimes the leather of a saddle left to dry would be smelled. Leather has a distinctive smell, especially leather that has been soaked and then dried. It smells of animal hide and of oil. The oil is rubbed into the leather to keep it supple. The smell is strong, but not unpleasant. The smell would mark passage, would indicate location in the camp. Smell as navigation. The intervallum is not empty, but it is not crowded. It is a buffer. It is space that serves a purpose without demanding attention. The intervallum simply exists. It performs its function passively. It requires nothing. On the inner side of that buffer, in the protected zone, the living area, the place where rest happens. The camp is the same. If someone stood in the center of the camp and turned slowly, the same thing would be seen in every direction. Not identical in detail, but identical in structure. The pattern repeats. North looks like south. East looks like west. The repetition is complete. Wherever the eye looks, the same organization is seen, the same order. Behind, the rampart rises. It is not a tall rise, just a few feet, but it is visible. It is a clear line separating the inner camp from the outer perimeter. The rampart is a horizon, a boundary of sight. Beyond it, the outside world. On this side, safety. Beyond the rampart, the palisade. The wooden stakes stand upright. They are lashed tightly together with rope. The rope is thick. The knots are secure. The stakes do not shift in the wind. They stand firm. The palisade is rigid, solid. It does not move unless directly touched with significant force. To the left and right, the same. The walls run in straight lines. The corners meet at right angles. The camp is a square. This is intentional. A square is easy to understand, easy to defend, easy to remember. The geometry is simple. Symmetry is complete. There are no irregular angles, no confusing shapes. This symmetry is not decorative. It is functional. A square camp has no weak points, no blind corners. Every wall is the same length. Every gate is the same distance from the center. Symmetry serves defense, serves organization, serves memory. Above, the sky. At this hour, the stars are becoming visible. They were there during the day, but the sunlight made them invisible. Now, as the light fades, they emerge, small points of light, constant, predictable. The stars do not change position rapidly. They move, but slowly. Their movement marks time in hours, not minutes. The moon may be rising, or it may already be overhead. If the moon is full, it provides light. Not bright light, nothing like daylight, but enough to see shapes, enough to navigate. Moonlight is gentle. It does not glare. It does not create harsh shadows. It simply reveals. If the moon is new, the darkness is deeper. But the stars remain. They are always there. Even without the moon, the sky provides. The stars are sufficient. They have always been sufficient. The sky is wide. It extends in all directions. There is nothing between earth and sky except air, but the sky does not feel threatening. It is simply there, as it always is. The sky is distant, untouchable. It does not descend, it does not press down, it simply covers. Below, the earth. The ground inside the camp has been cleared, rocks removed, plants pulled. The surface has been packed down by the boots of thousands of men. It is firm underfoot. It does not shift or crumble when stepped on. The earth has been prepared, worked, made ready to receive the camp. The earth is solid. It has been solid for longer than anyone can remember. It will remain solid long after this camp is dismantled and the Legion moves on. The earth does not change quickly. It endures. It persists. It remains. Generations of soldiers have stood on ground like this. Not this exact ground, but ground prepared in the same way. Ground cleared and packed. Ground made ready for a camp. Boots stand where thousands of boots have stood before, on similar earth, in similar camps, across the empire. The earth holds the way it has held them. It supports weight without complaint, without movement. The earth is stable. The earth asks nothing. It simply bears, simply holds, simply remains beneath, supported from below, enclosed from all sides, open to the sky. This is the shape of the camp. This is the shape of the night. This is the shape of safety. still here. A tent is one of many in the row. It is not distinguished by appearance. It looks like the tents to its left and right. It is the same size, the same shape, the same color. The uniformity is complete. One tent is like another. This is intentional. But which tent belongs to which group is known by position, by counting, by the small unconscious markers eyes have learned to recognize. Bodies know. Feet carry to the correct tent without conscious thought. Familiarity guides. The tent is made of leather, goat hide most likely. Sometimes calf skin is used, but goat hide is more common. The leather has been treated to make it durable. It has been stretched and dried. It has been sewn together with strong thread, sinew usually, or heavy linen cord. The leather is animal, once living, now serving a different purpose. The transformation is complete, but the origin remains evident. The leather is thick enough to block wind. When the wind blows across the camp, it can be heard moving against the tent walls. But inside the tent, the wind does not penetrate. The leather stops it. The air inside remains relatively still. The thickness creates stillness, creates shelter, creates a microclimate distinct from the air outside. The leather is flexible enough to roll and carry. Every morning, when the camp is struck, these tents are taken down. The stakes are pulled. The guy ropes are untied. The leather is folded or rolled. It is loaded onto pack animals or carried by hand. The same tents travel with the Legion, camp after camp. The tent is temporary in placement, but permanent in use. It will be here tonight. It will be somewhere else tomorrow night. But it will still be the same tent. The tent is called a papilio. The name means butterfly. When seen from above, when drawn on a map or plan, the tent resembles a butterfly's wings spread open. But it is rarely seen that way. From ground level, it is simply a low, functional structure. The name is old, traditional, part of the language of the Legion. The ridgepole runs along the center. This is the main structural element, a straight pole, longer than a man is tall when standing. The pole is supported at each end by a vertical post. The leather drapes over the ridgepole and hangs down on both sides. The ridgepole creates the tent's shape. Without it, the leather would collapse. The pole is the skeleton. The guy ropes extend from the edges of the leather to stakes in the ground. These ropes are what keep the tent taut. Without them, the leather would sag. The tent would collapse inward. The ropes are tied with specific knots, knots that hold firmly but can be untied quickly if needed. The ropes are under tension. They pull against the stakes. The stakes resist. This balance creates stability. The stakes are driven deep, not just pushed into the soil, but hammered, driven with force. Each stake is angled slightly outward, so that the pull of the rope does not simply lift the stake straight up. The angle is precise, known, taught to every soldier. The correct angle means the difference between a tent that stands and a tent that falls. The ropes are taut. The tent does not flap or shift, even when the wind picks up. A well-pitched tent is stable. It is silent. It does not move unless touched directly. Stability is a sign of proper construction. Silence is a sign of adequate tension. These are marks of competence. The smell of this tent arrives before the tent is reached. Smell travels before sight in darkness. Before the tent can be seen, carries a lot of weight when lying on the side. The depression helps distribute that weight. The distribution is not even, but it is better than it would be on a high point. Better is enough. Legs stretch out or bend slightly, depending on the space available. If the man next to someone is lying straight, Legs adjust to fit. If he is curled, there is more room. The adjustment is mutual. Both bodies negotiate the space. Both find positions that work. The man next to someone shifts. Movement is felt, transmitted through the ground. The straw rustles. The man's elbow brushes another's. The contact is brief, incidental. Contact is inevitable. The tent is crowded. Bodies touch. This is normal. Neither moves away. There is no room to move away. The tent is full. 8 men. No empty space. Moving away is not an option, so neither tries. This is the space that exists. This is the warmth that is shared, held, still here. Inside the tent, the air is different from the air outside. It is warmer, not by much, perhaps a few degrees, but enough that it is noticed when first lying down, enough that the difference is tangible. The difference is small but real. Skin registers it immediately. 8 men breathing. Each breath releases heat. Heat from the lungs. Heat from the body's core. 8 men exhale warm air continuously. The exhalation is constant, never stopping. 8 sources of warmth breathing in rhythm. 8 bodies giving off heat. Even at rest, bodies generate heat. Metabolism continues. Blood circulates. Muscles maintain tone. All of this produces warmth. Bodies are furnaces, low burning but constant. The heat radiates outward. The heat rises slightly. Warm air is less dense than cool air. It rises toward the peak of the tent, but it does not escape. The leather traps it. The leather is sealed. No gaps. The warm air has nowhere to go. Then it settles. Trapped by the leather above, the warm air has nowhere to go. It spreads. It fills the upper portion of the tent. Gradually, it descends, mixing with the cooler air below. The mixing creates a more uniform temperature. Not hot, not cold. Moderate. The air is also more humid. Breath contains moisture. Every exhalation releases water vapor. 8 men breathing for hours, the vapor accumulates. Humidity builds slowly, gradually, but it builds. Sweat adds moisture. Even without active sweating, skin releases moisture constantly. This is transpiration. It is continuous, unavoidable. Skin breathes. The breathing adds water to the air. Damp wool releases moisture as it dries. Wool absorbs water easily. During the day, if it rains or if heavy sweating occurs, the wool becomes damp. At night, as the wool warms inside the tent, it releases that moisture into the air. The wool becomes a source of humidity, a slow release of stored water. The moisture does not feel oppressive. It is not like steam. It is not like a hot, wet cloth pressed against a face. It simply makes the air feel thicker, softer, less dry than the air outside. The humidity is subtle, gentle, not uncomfortable. The leather of the tent moving slightly can be heard. Leather is not rigid. It has flexibility. As the temperature changes, the leather expands slightly or contracts. This creates tension in different parts of the tent. The tension releases with a faint sound. The leather is alive in its own way, responsive to temperature, to humidity, to tension. It creaks, a low, irregular sound, like the sound of old wood, but softer. less sharp. The creak is intermittent, unpredictable, but gentle. It stretches. The fibers of the leather moving against each other can be heard. A faint sound, like cloth being pulled taut. The sound is barely audible, more felt than heard. A vibration as much as a sound. It contracts as the temperature changes. As the night progresses and the air outside grows colder, the leather contracts. This changes the tension in the tent structure. The guy ropes pull differently. The leather responds. The response is slow, gradual. The leather does not snap or pop. It simply adjusts. These sounds are small. They do not demand attention. They are background. They are the sounds of a tent existing. They are part of the tent's presence, part of its nature as a structure made of organic materials. If condensation forms on the inside of the leather, it will drip slowly. When warm, moist air touches the cool inner surface of the leather, condensation can occur. Water droplets form. They grow heavy. They drip. The condensation is physics, inevitable when conditions are right. A drop may land on an arm. A small, cool touch. Brief. The drop rolls off or is absorbed by tunic. The sensation is minor, barely registering. Not unpleasant, just there. It may not be noticed. The drops are small. They fall slowly. If drifting toward sleep, they may not register consciously at all. Awareness is dimming. Small sensations fade from attention. The tent is not perfectly dry. It is not perfectly still. It is not perfectly silent. But it is predictable. Sleep in tents like this has happened for months, perhaps years. What sounds to expect is known. What movements are normal is known. What sensations are part of the tent's environment is known. Predictability is comfort. The expected is safe. What to expect is known. There are no surprises here. Nothing sudden, nothing unfamiliar. What is normal is known. Normal is reliable. Reliable is restful. Nothing here will surprise. The night continues. Nothing has changed. The night is divided into watches. This is how the Roman army organizes darkness. The night is not a single, undifferentiated block of time. It is divided, measured, assigned. Division creates order. Order creates predictability. Predictability creates calm. There are 4 watches, 4 equal divisions. Each watch lasts several hours. The exact length varies depending on the season. Nights are longer in winter, shorter in summer, but the division remains the same. 4 watches. Always 4. The number 4 is constant, reliable, known across every legion in every province. The first watch begins at sunset, not at a specific hour by a clock because there are no clocks. The first watch begins when the sun disappears below the horizon, when the light fades to the point that work becomes difficult. The trigger is natural, solar, the same trigger that has governed human activity since before empires existed. The second watch begins sometime after, when the first watch has passed, when the men who began the night on duty have completed their assigned time. The second watch takes over. The transition is seamless. One group ends, another begins. The coverage is continuous. The third watch covers the deepest part of the night, the coldest hours, the darkest hours, the hours when sleep is deepest for those not on duty. The third watch is the hardest, the most demanding, but also the most important. When sleep is deepest, vigilance must be most complete. The fourth watch ends at dawn, at the first light, when the sky begins to pale in the east, when shapes become visible without firelight. The fourth watch leads to morning, to the resumption of daylight activity, to the cycle beginning again. The watches are not thought of as hours. The Legion does not count time the way civilians do. There are no water clocks in a marching camp, no sundials, no instruments for precise measurement. Precision is not needed. The watches do not need to be exactly equal. They only need to be functional. They are not counted the way daylight hours would be counted. During the day, time is measured by tasks, by the position of the sun, by when meals are served, by when work begins and ends. Time is event-based, functional, not abstract. The watches are rhythms. They are patterns, cycles, repetitions that structure the night. The rhythm is what matters, not the exact duration, just the reliable repetition. They are patterns, known patterns, expected patterns, patterns that do not change. The sameness is the point. The predictability is the benefit. Which watch is current can be known by the feel of the night, by the temperature. The first watch is warmer. The third watch is coldest. By the time the fourth watch arrives, the air is beginning to warm again, just slightly. Temperature is information. Bodies read it automatically, by the quality of the sounds around. The first watch has more sounds. Men are still settling. Animals are still shifting. Conversations have not yet fully ceased. Sound level indicates time. More sound means earlier. Less sound means deeper night. The third watch is quietest. Almost everyone is asleep. Even the animals are still. The quietest point is the deepest point, the center of night. Right now, the first watch is underway. The sentries who began at sunset are still on duty. They are alert, but not yet tired.
Night is still young. Their shift is not yet halfway complete. This is the early part of night, the part where sleep is just beginning, where settling is still happening. The men on guard duty are alert but relaxed. They are not tense. There is no immediate threat. They are simply present, attentive, watching and listening as they have been trained to do. Alert does not mean anxious. It means ready, prepared, but calm. They are not yet tired. Fatigue will come later, in the third watch perhaps, but not now. The first watch is manageable. The body is still awake. The first watch is the easiest. Freshness remains from the day. Sleep has not yet been missed. Not on watch tonight. Names were not called. This contubernium is not on the duty rotation for tonight. This is someone else's night to stand guard. The rotation spares some tonight. Tonight they rest. The turn will come another night. Tomorrow, perhaps, or the night after. The rotation ensures that the duty is shared. Everyone takes a turn, but not every night. The burden moves, rotates, distributes across all men. This is fair. This is the system. Tonight, rest is possible. No need to rise. No need to stand. No need to walk the perimeter or watch the gates. Rest is the only task, the only responsibility. It can be given to completely. The system ensures that someone is always awake, always watching, always listening, always ready. The system is flawless in this regard. There are no gaps, no moments of complete inattention.
but it also ensures that most men can sleep. The majority of the Legion is off duty at any given time. This is by design. Rest is necessary. Exhausted men cannot march, cannot fight, cannot function. The system balances vigilance with recovery. Both are necessary. Both are provided. Vigilance is not required of those at rest. Vigilance is required, but it is not required of those at rest. Not tonight. The system is vigilant for them. The requirement is met by others. Freedom from it is granted. The camp is the same. Nothing has changed. At the change of each watch, the bukina sounds. The bukina is a curved horn, made of bronze, shaped like a large letter G. The mouthpiece is small. The bell is wide. The sound it produces is low and clear. The instrument is simple, ancient. Its design has not changed in generations. Its call is low and clear, not shrill, not harsh. The bukina does not sound like a trumpet. It sounds deeper, fuller. The note carries across the entire camp without being piercing. The tone is designed to carry, to penetrate tent walls, to reach every ear, but not to startle. It carries across the entire camp. Even in the far corner, it is heard. Even inside a tent, it is heard. The sound penetrates leather. It travels across open ground. It reaches every ear. The reach is total, complete. No one can claim they did not hear it. It is not heard as a jarring sound. It does not startle. It does not make anyone flinch. This infiltration. It prevents confusion. Everyone who belongs knows the word. Anyone who does not know it does not belong. The system works because it is simple, because it is clear, because there is no ambiguity. The tessera changes every night. Last night's password is useless tonight. Tomorrow's password does not exist yet. Only tonight's tessera matters. The rotation prevents compromise, prevents exploitation. Even if an enemy learned tonight's tessera, it would be useless tomorrow. Tonight's tessera is known. It was learned at dusk, before the gates were closed. The tablet was brought to the tent. The word was seen. It is remembered. The word is in memory, available if needed, but not occupying conscious thought. It will not need to be used. There will be no walking through the camp after dark. There is no reason to leave the tent, no task to perform, no duty to fulfill. The need is unlikely. The knowledge is insurance. But knowing it is reassuring. It is another layer of order, another piece of the system, another boundary that defines inside and outside. Knowing is membership, is inclusion, is safety. The tessera marks who belongs and who does not. It is a simple mechanism, but it is effective. It creates clarity. Belonging exists inside the system. The word is known. Recognition exists. Belonging. The camp is the same. Nothing has shifted. The men on watch are doing their work so that others do not have to. This is the fundamental purpose of the watch system. Division of labor, distribution of responsibility. The burden is shared, but not simultaneous. Some bear it so others can rest. Then the roles reverse. They are walking the rampart, back and forth, corner to corner. Their boots make contact with the packed earth. They walk slowly enough to observe carefully, quickly enough to cover their assigned section in the allotted time. The pace is practiced, known, consistent across every camp. They are standing at the gates, 2 men per gate usually, sometimes more if the situation warrants. They stand on either side of the opening. They watch the road that leads away from the camp. They watch for movement.
for lights, for any indication of approach. Their attention is focused outward, toward threat, away from the camp interior. They are circulating through the camp, checking that all is well. An officer makes rounds. He walks through the tent rows. He checks that fires are properly banked, but equipment is stowed correctly, that no one is where they should not be. The inspection is thorough, regular, part of the system. This work is not dramatic. It is not heroic. It is not exciting. It is simply necessary. Necessary work that must be done. Drama is not required. Only consistency. Only reliability. It is simply necessary. The camp cannot function without it. Sleep cannot happen safely without it. The watch is unglamorous but essential. The unglamorous is often the most important, the most reliable. The sound has a minimum level here. It never reaches zero, never reaches true silence. Life creates sound, continuous sound, unavoidable sound. Breathing can be heard. The breathing closest is heard first. The sound travels the shortest distance, from lungs to ears. The intake of air is heard, the exhalation, the pause between. The closest breath is the nearest sound, the most intimate, the most constant. The men nearby, their breathing reaches easily. They are within arm's reach. The rhythm of their breath is heard. Some breathe through their nose, some through their mouth. Each has a pattern. Each pattern is distinct, recognizable. If close attention were paid, who is near could be identified by breath alone. The rhythm is slow, not the rapid breathing of exertion, not the shallow breathing of fear. Slow, deep, the breathing of rest. The pace signals safety, signals relaxation, signals bodies at ease, steady. One breath follows the previous breath at regular intervals. The pace does not change, the depth does not vary. The steadiness is hypnotic, rhythmic, like waves, like wind. Someone is snoring softly, one of the men in this tent, or perhaps in the tent next to this one. The sound is low and continuous. The snoring is part of the sound floor. Expected, normal. The sound is low, low in pitch, a rumble more than a whistle, the kind of sound that comes from the back of the throat, from the soft palate vibrating. The low frequency is less intrusive than high-pitched sounds. It blends rather than pierces. Continuous. It does not stop and start randomly. It follows the rhythm of breath. Each exhalation produces the sound. Each inhalation is silent. The continuity makes it fade into background, makes it become part of the general sound rather than a distinct event. In the distance, the animals can be heard, the mules and horses in the intervallum. They are not close, but they are audible. Sound carries in the stillness. Distance softens sound, removes its sharpness, makes it gentle. A mule shifts its weight, one hoof lifted and placed down again. The sound of hoof against earth, a dull sound, brief. The sound is solid, physical. The weight of an animal making contact with ground. A horse exhales, a long, slow exhalation. The sound of air moving through large nostrils, a sound of contentment, of relaxation. The horse's breath is peaceful, settled. The animal is at rest too. Somewhere, a piece of equipment settles. Wood against wood. Two pieces of wood in contact. As the temperature changes, the wood contracts or expands slightly. The pieces shift. They make a sound a quiet sound, like a soft knock or a gentle click. The sound is small, insignificant, but it marks the passage of time, marks the cooling of night. Leather against metal, a strap resting against a buckle. The leather contracts as it dries. It pulls slightly. It makes a faint sound against the metal. The sound is even smaller, almost inaudible, but
present. A tent rope creaks as the wind touches it. The wind is not strong, just a breeze. It touches the rope. The rope is under tension. It resists. The resistance creates a sound, slightly. Not a loud sound, not a sustained sound, just a brief creak. Then it stops. The creak is minor, fleeting, but it adds to the texture of sound. The sentries walk. Their boots make soft percussion on the earth, not loud. The earth is packed, but not hard. The boots are leather. The contact produces a soft sound, rhythmic, regular. The rhythm is reassuring. It marks the presence of the watch, marks the functioning of the system. None of these sounds are loud. None of them startle. None of them demand attention. None of them rise above the general level. Loud would be alarming. These sounds are not alarming. They are presence without threat. They are simply the sound floor of the camp, the baseline, the foundation, the constant presence of sound that tells that others are near, that life continues, that the camp exists. The sound floor is evidence, evidence of safety, evidence of community, evidence of system. This sound floor is constant. It does not rise dramatically. It does not fall to silence. It remains at the same general level hour after hour. Constancy is reliability. Reliability is comfort. It is the sound of safety. Safety has a sound. It is not silence. Silence would be suspicious, threatening. Safety sounds like the presence of others, like the routine functioning of a system. Still here. Nothing has changed. The smell inside the tent is layered. Not a single scent, but multiple scents. They overlap. They combine. They create a complex olfactory environment. Complexity is depth. Depth is richness, even in something as simple as smell. Leather is the strongest. It dominates because the tent itself is leather. The walls, the ceiling, all leather. Hundreds of square feet of treated animal hide surrounding. The leather is everywhere, unavoidable. The primary scent. It is the smell of the tent itself, animal hide. Even when treated, leather retains the smell of the animal. Goat hide has a specific smell, slightly musky, slightly sharp. The animal origin remains present. The leather remembers what it was. Beneath that, wool. Wool is everywhere. Sagums, tunics, the cloth used for padding, for wrapping, for covering. Wool is the second layer, the second strongest presence. The sagum covering. The wool lies directly across bodies. Faces are inches from it. The smell is strong. Wool has a lanolin smell, a greasy smell, an animal smell. The proximity makes the smell more intense. It is breathed with every breath. The tunics around. 8 men. 8 woolen tunics, each one absorbing sweat, absorbing smoke, absorbing the smells of the day's work. The accumulated smell is human, is work, is life. There is also the smell of earth, the ground beneath the tent, soil, dirt, clay, perhaps, depending on the location. Earth has a distinct smell, a mineral smell, sometimes a slightly damp smell, even when the surface is dry. Earth smells ancient, elemental, fundamental. The earth is beneath, lying on straw, but the straw is thin. The smell of earth comes through. The barrier between bodies and earth is minimal. The earth's presence is constant. Smoke lingers in everything. Smoke from the cook fires. Smoke that has permeated every fabric, every material. Smoke is penetrating. It goes everywhere. It stays. The smoke comes from the cook fires. Wood smoke. The particular smell of whatever wood is available in this region. Oak burns differently than pine. Each wood has its signature scent. The wood's identity is in the smoke. The region's identity is in the smoke. From the oil lamps, though those are rare in the tents, oil lamps produce a different kind of smoke, a smell that is partly burning oil, partly burning wick. But lamps are not common in tents. Too dangerous, too unnecessary. Men sleep in darkness. The lamp smoke is faint, barely present, but still part of the mix. From the small fires men build to warm themselves on cold evenings. Sometimes, on particularly cold nights, small fires are permitted between tent rows. Men gather around them briefly before sleep. The smoke from these fires clings to clothing. The fire smoke is recent, fresh, still strong on fabric. There is the smell of oil used on weapons, olive oil sometimes, rubbed into the wood of spear shafts, rubbed into leather shield bindings. The oil prevents cracking, prevents drying, prevents damage. The oil is maintenance, is care, is preservation. Animal fat. Sometimes oil is not available. Animal fat is used instead. Rendered fat. It has a stronger smell than olive oil, more pungent, but it serves the same purpose. The fat smell is heavier, richer, more animal than vegetable oil. Leather straps. Oil rubbed into the straps of armor, of helmets, of all the countless leather components of military equipment. The leather must be kept supple. Oil does this. The oil smell is mixed with leather smell. The two combine. And beneath all of this, the smell of men living closely together. Not unpleasant, but undeniable. The smell of sweat, of bodies that work hard during the day, of wool that absorbs that sweat, of breath, of exhalation. Human smell is inevitable. 8 men in close quarters. The smell accumulates. These smells are not analyzed. They are not thought about individually. They are not identified one by one. They are simply the smell of the tent. Analysis is not happening. Only perception, only presence. They simply exist. They are present. They surround. They are part of the environment, the smells are constant, unchanging, part of the atmosphere. They are the smells that have been present for as long as service has lasted. Months, maybe years. These smells have been constant. They have been present in every tent, in every camp. The smells are more familiar. And straw and bodies. Softness is not available. Softness is not expected. Softness is not the standard. But there is stability. The ground is reliable. It does not shift. It does not change. It supports completely and without movement. Stability compensates for hardness. Reliability compensates for discomfort. The air inside the tent is cooler than skin. Skin temperature is approximately 33 degrees Celsius. The air temperature inside the tent is lower than this, perhaps 15 degrees, perhaps 20. The difference is noticeable. The differential creates sensation, creates awareness of temperature. Warmer than the night outside. Outside the tent, the temperature is dropping. As the night progresses, the air cools. But inside the tent, the temperature is moderated by the presence of 8 bodies, by the insulation of the leather walls. The tent creates a microclimate, a protected zone. Temperature is controlled, not by mechanisms, but by presence. Breath is warm. The warmth can be felt briefly on lips and cheeks. When exhalation happens, the air leaving lungs is body temperature. It is warm compared to the surrounding air. This warmth is felt as it passes lips, as it touches faces. The warmth is brief, fleeting, but present with every breath. The sensation is brief. The warm air dissipates quickly into the cooler air around. Dissipation happens immediately. The warmth does not linger. It merges with the cooler air. The man nearby is close enough that body heat can be felt. Not directly touching, but close, within inches. Proximity creates thermal presence. Even without contact, heat radiates, but has a presence of warmth to one side, or to the other, depending on which man. The warmth is not strong, not like sitting next to a fire, just a subtle increase in temperature, a slight change in the thermal environment. The change is minor, but detectable. Skin registers it. The temperature is simply what it is. Not comfortable in the way a warm bed would be comfortable, not uncomfortable either. Just neutral. Acceptable. Normal. Normal is sufficient. Normal is familiar. Normal is restful. The night continues. Nothing has shifted. Silence is not the absence of sound here. Silence, as most people think of it, does not exist in the camp. There is too much life, too much activity even at rest. True silence requires true emptiness. The camp is not empty. It is something that exists between the sounds. Silence is the space, the gap, the interval between one sound and the next. Silence is defined by what surrounds it, by what precedes it and what follows it. A sentry's footsteps approach. The rhythm of boots on earth can be heard, growing louder, coming closer. The approach is gradual, steady, predictable, then pass. The sound is loudest for a moment as the sentry walks directly past. Then it begins to diminish. The peak is brief, a moment. Then recession begins, then fade. The sound grows quieter, softer, fainter, until it is no longer distinguishable. The fading is smooth, continuous. The sound does not disappear suddenly. Then, silence. The space after the sound. The absence of that particular sound. The silence is brief but real. Brief but noticeable. A gap in the sound floor. Someone shifts in their sleep. A body moving, adjusting position. The movement creates sound. Movement in sleep is small, slow, but audible. The straw rustles. The dried grass or bracken beneath the person. It crackles softly. It compresses and releases. The rustle is delicate, fragile. The sound of dry plant material moving. Then settles. The movement stops. The straw stops rustling. The sound ends. The ending is abrupt. Movement ceases. Sound ceases. Then silence. Again, the space, the gap, the moment without that sound. The silence returns, always returns, waits between every sound. The wind moves across the camp. It can be heard approaching. A soft, continuous sound. Air moving over and through obstacles. The approach is gentle. The wind is not strong tonight. It touches the tent. The leather responds. It presses slightly inward. It makes a faint sound. The guy ropes creak. The tent's response is minimal, but audible. Evidence of wind's presence. Then moves on. The wind continues past. The pressure on the tent releases. The sound diminishes. The wind does not stop. It simply moves elsewhere, beyond hearing. Then, silence. The silence is not empty. It is not void. It is not nothing. Empty implies absence, but silence here is presence. A different kind of presence. It is the space where breathing can be heard. In the absence of external sound, internal sounds become audible. Breath, heartbeat if attended to, the sound of blood moving through vessels near ears. Internal sounds are always present. They only become noticeable when external sounds fade, where existence is simply possible. Existence without input, without stimulation, without information to process. Just existing. Existence without requirement, without task, without purpose beyond being. The sounds return. They always return. The silence never lasts long. Another footstep, another shift, another breath, another wind. Return is inevitable. Sound is constant. Silence is only intervals. But they do not intrude on the silence. They do not violate it. They do not destroy it. They simply mark its boundaries. They define it. The sounds give silence meaning. Without sounds to bracket it, silence would be unmarked, unnoticed. They simply mark the silence. They show where the silence was. They make awareness possible that silence exists between them. Awareness of silence requires sound. Sound makes silence visible. The silence does not need to be filled. There is no obligation, no need to speak, no need to move. No need to create sound. Silence is permitted. Silence is acceptable. Silence is natural. The silence is part of the rhythm, part of the natural pattern of sound and space, part of the structure of the night. Rhythm requires both sound and silence, both fullness and emptiness. It arrives. It comes after sound. It follows sound. It is the consequence of sound ending. Arrival is passive. The silence does not force its way in. It simply appears when sound departs. It stays. For a moment. For a few moments. It persists until the next sound begins. Duration varies, but silence always has duration, always occupies time. It leaves. The next sound arrives. The silence ends, but it has not disappeared. It has only moved elsewhere. Departure is not death. Silence goes to wait elsewhere, to exist between other sounds. It returns after the next sound, after the next, over and over. Silence appears and disappears in rhythm. The rhythm is endless, eternal. It will continue after sleep happens, after waking happens. Held within this rhythm, the camp is the same, still here. The third watch is underway now. The men who began the night on duty have long since returned to their tents. The men of the second watch have completed their shifts as well. The camp is now in the hands of the third watch. The night has progressed. The cycle continues. The rotation persists. This is the deepest part of the night, the part of night that feels furthest from both sunset and sunrise. The center, the middle, the point of maximum darkness. Deepest means furthest from light, furthest from day, most completely night, the coldest hours. Temperature continues to drop through the night. The earth radiates heat upward into the sky. By the third watch, the air is at its coolest. The ground is at its coldest. Cold is a physical reality, measurable. The third watch is quantifiably colder than the first. But inside the tent, shelter exists. Inside the tent, covered with wool, surrounded by the warmth of other bodies, the tent protects. The wool insulates. The bodies radiate. Shelter from the deepest cold exists. Shelter, protected, enclosed, separated from the coldest air by leather and wool and presence. The camp is almost motionless now. Almost, but not entirely. There is still the watch, still the sentries walking, still the occasional movement, but far less than earlier. Movement has minimized. Energy has settled. Activity has reduced to essential functions only. Most men are asleep. Not just resting, not just lying still, actually asleep. Breathing is deep and slow. Bodies are still. Sleep has claimed the majority. Real sleep, deep sleep, Breathing is deep and slow, the kind of breathing that only happens in deep sleep. The chest rises and falls with greater amplitude. The pace is slower, more regular. Deep sleep has a distinctive breath. It can be heard. It can be identified. The animals are still. The mules and horses in the intervallum. They stand with their weight on 3 legs, resting the 4th. This is how horses and mules sleep, standing. They lock their leg joints. They rest. Animals sleep differently than humans, but they sleep nonetheless. They stand with their weight on 3 legs, resting the 4th. One hind leg is relaxed. The hip drops slightly on that side. The hoof barely touches the ground. All the weight is on the other 3 legs. The posture is distinctive, unmistakable. The posture of an animal at rest. Nothing disturbs them. No sudden sounds, no movements. The animals remain in their resting posture. Disturbance would wake them, would shift them. But there is no disturbance. The sentries on the 3rd watch move more slowly than those on the 1st watch. They are colder. The cold stiffens muscles, makes movement less comfortable. They walk more carefully, more deliberately. Cold affects the body, slows it, makes it work harder for the same movements, but they are still alert. The cold helps with this. Cold prevents drowsiness. The discomfort keeps them wakeful. Discomfort is advantage in this context. Alertness is maintained by cold. The camp is at its quietest now. Fewer sounds, longer intervals of silence. The sound floor has dropped to its lowest level. Quiet is deepest when sleep is deepest. The correlation is direct. The fires have burned down to embers. The fires that glowed visibly during the 1st watch are now almost invisible. They still give off heat, but no light, just a faint red glow if looked at directly. Coals retain heat longer than flames last. The heat persists invisible. They still give off heat, but no light. The heat continues. Coals retain heat for hours, but the light has faded entirely. The flames have long since disappeared. Light and heat separate. Heat remains after light dies. The darkness is deeper. Without the fires contributing any visible light, the darkness inside the camp is nearly complete. Only moonlight or starlight provides illumination if the sky is clear. Darkness accumulates, compounds, becomes more absolute as sources of light diminish. The stars are brighter. When there is less artificial light, the stars become more visible, more numerous. The sky appears richer, denser with stars. Human light obscures stars. Remove human light, and stars emerge. If eyes opened, almost nothing inside the tent would be seen. The leather blocks what little light exists outside. Inside, the darkness is total. Shapes might be seen, darker regions that are bodies, lighter regions that are empty space, but nothing more. Vision is useless here. Darkness is complete. Sight provides no information, but sight is not needed. Vision is not necessary. Location is known. What surrounds is known. Sight would add no useful information. Other senses are sufficient. Touch, hearing, smell. These tell everything needed. Location is known. Nothing changes. The night continues. Not fully asleep, not in the deepest stage of sleep, not in the state where consciousness disappears entirely. Somewhere short of that. Full sleep has not occurred yet, or perhaps it has, and rising from it slightly has happened. Not fully awake, not alert, not ready to rise, not thinking clearly, not fully present in the way presence happens during the day. Wakefulness is far, but complete absence is also far, existing in a state between the two, a liminal state, neither asleep nor awake. Awareness is present, but dimmed. Thought is present, but unfocused. Liminal means threshold. On the threshold, not committed to either side. Awareness that lying down is happening. This information arrives. The body is horizontal, is known. Not standing, not sitting. Lying. The information is simple, clear, undeniable. That covering exists. The weight of the wool is felt. Its presence is known. That it is covering is known. This awareness exists without requiring thought. Weight is evidence. Presence is evidence. Knowing without thinking. That others are near. Breathing is heard. Proximity is felt. That other bodies are close is known without seeing. Proximity is certain. Breathing is evidence. Not alone. But thinking about these things is not happening. Thinking requires active cognition, requires directing attention, requires analysis. This is not happening. Thinking is absent. Only awareness remains. Passive awareness. Simply aware of them. The information exists in consciousness without being examined, without being considered. Just present. Present but not analyzed. Existing but not requiring response. Weapons are close. This awareness is deep, automatic, the result of training. That weapons are within reach is known, even in this half-sleep state. Training creates automatic knowledge, knowledge that persists even when thought does not. Just outside the tent, stacked with the others, a few steps away. Close enough. Close enough is sufficient. Immediate is not required. Just close. The belt is loosened but still worn. The belt that holds the tunic, that carries the dagger during the day. It is loosened for comfort but not removed. It could be tightened quickly if needed. Partial removal is compromise. Comfort balanced with readiness. If the bukana sounded in alarm, rising would happen. This is certainty. This is training. The alarm call is different from the watch change call. The body knows the difference. If the alarm were heard, reaction would happen immediately. The response is trained, automatic. It would happen before thought. Movement would happen. Sitting up, standing, reaching for weapons. These actions would happen automatically, without decision, without hesitation. The sequence is programmed, practiced, ready. But the bukina does not sound in alarm. The only sounds are the sounds of a camp at rest. No alarm, no emergency, no threat. No alarm comes. The sounds are peaceful, normal. This awareness is not anxiety. It is not fear. It is not worry. It is not vigilance in the active sense. Anxiety requires tension. No tension exists. Only passive readiness. It is simply soldier awareness. A background. Readiness that never fully disappears. A state that allows rest, but permits rapid response if necessary. Soldier awareness is different. It persists during rest, but it does not prevent rest. But tonight, that readiness has nothing to do. There is no threat, no alarm, no need to respond. The readiness remains, but it is unused. Unused, but present. Ready, but not engaged. The camp is secure. Security is maintained by others, by the system, by the watch. Muscles are loose, not tense, not contracted, not prepared for immediate action. Loose, relaxed, resting. Looseness is rest. Tension is absent. The body has released. Breathing is slow. The slow rhythm of rest, of reduced metabolic demand, of a body conserving energy. Slow breath is deep breath, is restful breath, is the breath of peace, held between waking and sleeping. Neither state is dominant, neither is complete. Existence in the space between them. The between is a place, a state, a condition. This is rest. The night continues, still here. How long has been spent lying here is not known. Time has become unmeasurable. There are no markers, no cues, no way to judge duration. Duration is unknown, unknowable. Time has lost its structure. Time is not counted. There is no counting, no tracking, no attempt to measure how many minutes or hours have passed. Counting is absent, unnecessary, irrelevant. There are no hours here. The watches divide the night, but watching for their changes is not happening. The watches exist, but participation in them is not happening. Hours are concepts. Concepts have faded. Only existence remains. There is only the slow passage of the night. Night passing, progressing, moving from one state to another without urgency, without milestones. Passage is gentle, unmarked, continuous without punctuation. At some point, the third watch will end. This is certain. The system continues. The rotation proceeds. The third watch will give way to the fourth. Certainty exists about future, but future is not now. But that point is not now. Now is only now. Not moving toward anything, not moving away from anything. Just now. Now is complete, sufficient. It does not point elsewhere. Time has no shape in the dark. Shape requires boundaries, requires definition, requires beginning and end. In darkness, in rest, time has none of these. Shape is absent. Form is absent. Only flow remains. There is only breath. In and out. One breath, then another, then another. Each breath is the same. Each breath is the only breath. Breath is constant. Breath is everything. Breath is time itself. In and out. The cycle repeats, endlessly, without variation, without meaning beyond the physical necessity. The cycle is hypnotic, rhythmic, self-perpetuating. There is only the weight of the wool on the body, a constant sensation, not changing, not developing, just there. Weight persists. Weight does not fluctuate. Weight is reliable. The firmness of the ground beneath, another constant. The ground was firm when lying down began. It is firm now. It will be firm when rising happens. Unchanging. Firmness continues. The earth does not shift, does not soften, remains. The presence of others breathing nearby. The sound persists. The rhythm continues. The presence remains. Others continue. Their breath marks their presence. Their presence marks community. Tracking the progression of the night is not needed. There is no need, no obligation. The night will progress regardless of whether tracking happens or not. Tracking is unnecessary. Progress happens without observation. The night simply is. Not becoming, not developing, just existing. Present. Ongoing. The night's existence is independent, self-sufficient. It requires nothing, simply being. Not doing, not thinking, not planning, just being, existing within the night. Existence is enough. Being is enough. Nothing more is required. Breath by breath, still here. Nothing has changed. The stones of the rampart, piled earth and stones, solid, permanent for now. These materials surround, they form the boundary. Stone is ancient, enduring. The rampart is made of this. The wood of the palisade, stakes, sharpened, lashed, standing upright. Another boundary, another layer of enclosure. Wood is strong, rigid. The palisade stands firm. The leather of the tent, treated hide, stretched and sewn. The immediate enclosure, the closest boundary. Leather is supple, protective. The tent wraps around. These things hold within them. They create the space that is occupied. They define it. They protect it. Creation is containment. Definition is safety. The earth beneath is solid, rock and soil. The ground, the foundation. It does not move. The earth is ancient, older than empires, older than men. The ground does not shift, stable, constant, reliable. Stability is absolute. The earth knows nothing else. It holds, supports weight, bears up, keeps from sinking. Support is unconditional, complete. The earth does not tire. The group presence of the other men is constant. 7 others in this tent, hundreds more in the camp. Always others, never alone. Others breathe. Others exist. Others remain. not alone. Alone does not exist here. Community is constant. There are always others. In this tent, in adjacent tents, in the camp, others are everywhere. Always the sounds of breathing, the evidence of other life, other presence, continuous. Breathing is proof, proof of life, proof of company, part of something that functions, a system, an organization, a structure larger than any individual. The system contains, includes, holds. The walls surround on every side. Complete enclosure, total boundary. Held. Still. Nothing has shifted. The body is still now. Not moving, not shifting, not adjusting. Still. Movement has ceased. Only breath remains. The shape that fits has been found. The position, the arrangement of limbs, the contact,